Today we're going to unbox and assemble one of the nicest foldable electric bikes we've reviewed to date, the Wtva HEBE 1.0. It comes mostly assembled, so it's going to be pretty easy. Not a lot of instructions inside, but you really don't need them. So you take out the loose parts, you can take out the fender and the battery charger. The battery's already in the bicycle, and you'll see how cool this is. It's actually attached in a little slider in the chassis itself, and it is removable, so it makes it a little bit easier when you want to fold it up and put it in your car. Take the battery out, and you'll see how this all works together. So again, mostly assembled. Your gear chains are already there. Your motor's completely assembled. All you have to do is put the front wheel on. And here you're going to find this in the box too. This is actually your front axle. Put that aside, hang on to that. Then you want to carefully cut away these little plastic tabs that are protecting the bike during shipping. Now don't go crazy cutting, so you don't want to scratch your paint. And it's a new bike. It's going to get scratched up eventually, but you don't want a brand new bike scratched up. So just be very, very careful cutting these straps off. Here's your book. It's got a bunch of features, and you're going to find your pedals in here, and they also give you all the tools you need. Now here's where you want to stop and actually grab the charger. This is your battery charger. So you're going to want to ride this, and it's going to take a couple hours to charge the battery. So you're probably going to want to stop what you're doing right here, pull this out, and start that process. It's a unique charger. It doesn't work on a whole bunch of different batteries. So we'll talk about charging the battery. Let's talk about it right now. So you're going to need this key. They give you a set of 2 keys which are attached to the handlebars. So you have to turn it, kind of push it and turn it to the unlock position, and this will allow you to remove the battery. This is a great safety feature too, because if you don't have the keys, you can't remove the battery. And if you don't have the keys, you can't use it in electric mode as well. It'll still function as a bicycle, but that's cool. So you can take it off. You can charge it on the bike as well. It's a little easier when you're building it to take it off because you're going to need to lift it up. Pop this guy in here. Your charger is going to turn red. And again, it's going to take about 3 to 4 hours for a complete charge. Now, we're going to want to put the handlebars on. And this is a little tricky. This is probably the most difficult part of the assembly here. So you're going to have to kind of loosen these guys up here. You've got 2 little Allen bolts on the bottom. And we'll show you how to tighten all this stuff out. At the end of this process, you're going to want to really tighten everything up. I recommend just half tightening everything when you're building it, and then at the end, just go back and tighten everything up to make sure that she's going to be nice and stable for you. So you're going to take this bolt and this little plastic clip off, and then you're going to put this as foldable as well. And you'll see how cool this is, which makes the bike really transportable because the handlebars are kind of high up and they're adjustable too. So you put this guy on here, then you put the bolt inside here through the little plastic thing, and this is actually going to hold your handlebars to the frame of the bike. Pretty easy to do. Just pop it in there. It only goes one way. You'll see it. It makes a lot of sense. And then you got again, they give you all the tools you'll need. So you use your little Allen wrench and just tighten that bad boy up. Now this is the trickiest part. You need to line those handlebars up so they're straight with the fork, because you don't want your handlebars all twisted one way and your fork going the other way. You can see I left the styrofoam on here because it kind of helps balance the bike while it's standing on the floor, especially if you're building this yourself. So I got this thing lined up, and then we're going to tighten this guy up because we want this guy to be pretty tight. It's going to be kind of difficult to get to afterwards. Tighten this guy up. Make sure that that is nice and stable where your handlebars are straight, matching the fork. And be careful not to put your fingers in there because it's like a giant nutcracker. It will leave a mark. Lock that guy into place, and then we can tighten up these 2 Allen bolts here on the side and make sure she's nice and stable. You're going to want to kind of eyeball this maybe 20 or so miles after you've ridden it, especially if you're taking it over some bumpy stuff, some grass or some dirt. Some of this stuff kind of wiggles its way loose, so just double check. Doesn't hurt to double check everything before you ride your electric bike, just for safety's sake. So tighten these guys up real good. You can go ahead and tighten these up all the way, because you're not going to have to go and mess with this once everything's straight and ready to rock and roll. All right, so now we're going to put the front fender on. Now you can do this after you put the wheel on, but it's a little easier if you do it before because the headlight actually goes through this too. So it's a little tricky. There's one bolt that actually passes through the headlight and also keeps the front fender on. So we recommend doing this now before you put the wheel on. Save you a little bit of grief later. It's a little tricky when the wheel's on. It can be done, but some people choose not to put fenders on. But if you want to ride through some dirt, or if you happen to get stuck in a wet area, go through some puddles, this will save you and the bike from getting splashed. So fenders are a pretty good idea. So you slide that guy through. You're going to have a bolt here. And just put it through the headlight first. You take it right out. It's got a little nut on the end of it. Pass it right through. You don't have to tighten this guy up right away because you're going to want to actually leave this loose until you actually sit on the bike, figure where you want that headlight to go. But just enough to get it on there so it's out of your way and you can install the front tire easily, knowing where everything's going to go. There is a protector that covers the disc brakes. It has front and rear disc brakes, which is a very nice bonus. And again, all the tools you need are here. So now we're going to take the styrofoam off the front fork, and you're going to see a little plastic thing here underneath, which actually prevents the front forks from being bent in shipping, which is a great idea. So you just pop that guy off, it pulls right off, no nuts, bolts, or anything to detach. And remember that axle that we pulled out earlier. This is where we're going to need to use this to attach our front wheel to the frame. So take one side off, the nuts and washers off, hang on to those, make sure they don't get lost. I've got this shag carpet, everything gets lost in here. So pass this guy through. You're going to put this guy on first. And then we're going to use gravity assist. Yeah, sounds cosmic, doesn't it? To actually put the frame on, because I am doing this by myself. Again, a little easier with two people. It's a little tricky, but leave a lot of space. Don't tighten this up. You want to leave a bunch of space on either side of this bolt because you need somewhere for the frame to actually sit on, and it's going to fall down using gravity to sit right on this axle. All right, so we've got that here, and we're going to actually pass that disc in between the calipers, in between the brake pads. And it's a little difficult to show on video, but you'll see there's a little slot here where the disc goes. So that needs to go in first. Make sure you've got that lined up, and then you're going to let gravity, it's going to take a couple of times, drop right on that opening you left in the bolt. So sometimes if you don't have enough, I had to actually open it up a little bit more so it had some space for the frame to drop on the axle. And again, it takes a little bit. It's a little tricky doing this by yourself. If you have multiple people here, it's a lot easier. You can kind of see what's going on. And then once it drops in there, you are ready to go. You don't have to adjust anything. All you have to do is tighten up those nuts on both sides. Make sure your front wheel's nice and stable. It's not going anywhere. And again, check this it's a good idea to check it every time. Just give it a good shake. Make sure it's not loose and tighten it up maybe, I don't know, after your first 20 miles. Make sure everything's still nice and tight and secure and nothing's falling apart because you want to be safe. And we do the other side too. It's going to be nice and tight. Again, you don't have to adjust the brakes or anything. They're ready to rock and roll. Okay, now we can finish putting the front fenders on. Now we've got that. We've got this little guy here. This gets a little tricky too because once you put one side on, the other side's effectively spring-loaded. It's like it could actually pop you in the face if you're not careful. So you just take the little bolts they give you in a little plastic bag and just screw this guy in. I did it loosely on one side and then popped over to the other side and did it there and tightened that up. Made it a little bit easier. Give you a little bit more play. All right, so let's put the pedals on. These are marked left and right easily with a sticker. Some are not on some manufacturers. So thank you, Wtva, for making that easy. And you'll see that they twist on a different way. So you're going to twist towards the front of the bicycle for the left-hand pedal. And I think it's the opposite way for the other one. And these, you also want to make sure they're pretty tight. You can go around and tighten all the bolts again at the end of your installation. But there is a torque rating for the pedals. But if you just tighten them up as tight as you can go without stripping your nut here, it's usually tight enough. They're not going to go anywhere. I mean, like uncomfortably tight. Just really give that a good, so you just can't really turn it anymore. And then check this after 20 miles, make sure that's good. And these are neat too because they fold. It takes a little bit of strength here, but you can pull them out and they will actually fold, which makes storing this in the back of a car or RV really nice and easy. Save you a couple of inches there. So you just kind of push that spring in. The spring's pretty tight. It'll kind of loosen up as you go. You see, and then it snaps back into shape. You just kind of fold it down and it pops back. So that saves you a little bit of space when you're putting these two side by side in an RV or an SUV. All right, now it's starting to look like a bike, isn't it? Let's take the protection stuff off the seat. And this is a quick release lever here. So you might need to open this up, just unscrew it a little bit so you can get it in there. And this is super convenient because you can adjust the seat height nice and easily with this quick release lever. In case you find it's too low or too high, and just find the space that's really good for you and make sure she's nice and tight too. So you can twist the little round nut on the other end so it's nice and tight, and then just use that quick release. It's going to be really hard to push, and that's perfect because that's what you want. That ensures that the seat will be supported nice and tightly and won't go anywhere while you're riding, especially over bumpy roads. That can be a little weird if you're riding over a bumpy road and your seat falls down. It can kind of freak you out a little bit. It happens. It's actually a pretty nice seat they give you. It's got a lot of cushion on there. Some people replace them, but this is a nice, big, comfortable seat with a couple springs. Now, if you don't like the angle of the seat, you can easily fix that too using the tools they give you. Just loosen this guy up and you can slide the seat post forward or backwards. You slide it forward, it'll take the angle out a little bit. Backwards, if you like more of an angle. Really just depends what you're more comfortable with. You gotta twist it a couple times to get it loose enough to move it, and that's a good thing. And make sure you tighten that guy back up when you're got it at the place where you want it. And because again, you don't want that seat sliding out from under you. You can kind of look at it and put it on there before you tighten it all up. Make sure it's exactly where you want it to be, and then tighten that up real good with a good amount of torque. And there it is. Perfect. Exactly where I want it. Not too high, not too low. Very, very comfortable for my personal preference anyway. Yours may be a little different. All right, I'll show you some of the features here. You can lift this up. So if you're obnoxiously tall, you can lift the handlebars up. Looks like a good 6 to 8 inches. And also you're going to want to twist these handlebars too. And that's a quick release too. So put the brakes at a level where you're really comfortable. Actually sit on the bike, on the seat, and stretch out your arms to where you're actually going to be riding, and then lock it into place. And that should be super comfortable for you. And it's going to be different for everybody who rides the bike. It's got a little, I call this a mouse trap on the back, and that's kind of neat. I've never seen this on a rear rack. So you could put a, I don't know, like paperwork or something, or a folder or something thin on there to keep it down and secured without any bungee cords. Now, this is how you unlock it. So you kind of lift this guy up. Yeah, there's a little spring in there, and there's a little bolt in the bottom. So you need to unlock it, unlatch the lever, and then lift it up a little bit. And then it folds super easy. Again, this is about 60 pounds. So not super light. You're going to need somebody with a little bit of muscles to lift this thing up any kind of height. But and then the handlebars fold down too. It's got a little protective latch here, and this thing snaps down too. And look at this. That's amazing, isn't it? Folds into this compact little package, and it's pretty easy. We can fit 2 of these side by side in the back of our 4-door Jeep Wrangler. And that's amazing. Before this, you needed a rack to take your bike anywhere. It was just kind of a pain. But this makes it so easy. Fold it up. And again, you can fold your pedals too. And then when you get to your destination, just completely do the reverse. Real simple to snap. It's actually easier to put it back together than it is to fold it. Just kind of lift it up, and you're going to wheel it around. You could use the wheel to support the weight. And again, keep your fingers, knees, toes, everything out of that metal piece, because it's like, again, like a giant nutcracker. So you lift it up again, so that little knob snaps in there, and you'll hear it snap in. And then close the lever, and then use the quick release to lock it into place, so she's not going to go anywhere. Super secure. And there it is. You've got your bike built and ready to go. They recommend these nice 4-inch puncture-resistant tires. You inflate those to about 20 pounds. They are kind of flat when they come from the factory due to shipping and, and temperature differences. Let's go check them. Oh, it's turning green. So now you can take the battery out and actually install that. Now, to get to the battery, if you do want to take it out, you're going to need to remove the seat. Fortunately, that quick release makes it nice and easy. So pop your seat out, and you're going to see that rail on the back. And you'll see a little a gully in the back of that battery. Just slide that right into place, and it'll line it up perfectly. And just push it down, make sure she's in there. Put the handle down, and then you can turn that key. The key will lock the battery in there, so you can't remove it without the key. And once you turn it to the on position, you can actually check the battery to make sure there's a charge on it. And then simply use the quick release to pop your seat back on. I typically don't take the batteries off my bikes unless I'm moving it somewhere. If I'm going to lift it into an SUV, it's going to take about 9-10 pounds off the weight of the bike. So that's really the only reason I would remove the battery. But it's nice too if you go in shopping somewhere and you want to lock up your bike, you can take your battery with you. You can ride your bike without it. Remember, it is first and foremost a bicycle. So if your battery dies, or if you don't have the battery, or if you forget the key, you can still ride this thing like a bicycle. And that's always a nice feature. Here's the controller. You hold the mode button to turn it on for a few seconds. You hold the plus key to turn the lights on. It's got front and rear LED lights, comes standard. And that's really a nice feature too. So if you're riding in the evening, a lot of people ride with their lights on during the day. It's important to be seen. The brakes actually has a brake light in the back, and that's pretty neat too. So people riding behind you will know when you hit the brakes when you have the lights on. So that's pretty cool as well. It's got 5 levels of pedal assist. You go up. It shows you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course, 5 being the most motor assistance. And that's when you pedal, it gives you a little bit of a motor boost. And you can go down to 0, which is no pedal assist, which essentially is a bicycle. So you can hold the mode button down and it'll go through your trip meter and how long you've been riding. It'll tell you the voltage and some other interesting information. There's a little booklet and how long you've been riding too. It'll also obviously tell you how fast you're going. So that's pretty cool too. And turn the light off by holding the plus down. And I believe it has a walk assist too. If you hold that minus key down, it'll actually help you walk if you're walking through grass or dirt. And again, this great security feature, you can turn it to off, take the key out, and nobody's going to be able to remove the battery or use the bike as an e-bike with that out. So went out and took it for a ride, and it's a very, very nice ride. I have a separate video on some of the features of riding this thing. A great 15.5-inch step through, so it's going to be real easy to step through and get on this bike, which is great for people who have mobility challenges or people who aren't super tall. Real easy to get on this thing. Some of those other bigger e-bikes are impossible. They have to lift the whole thing to the side, and it gets kind of weird, but not with this one. Super easy for anybody of just about any height between 5'3" and 6'3" to ride this thing very easily and comfortably too. So I took it through the park, took it through some grass, and actually got this thing up with pedal assist. It has 3 modes. It has pedal only, pedal assist where the motor helps you along, or just throttle. There's a half twist throttle on the right handlebar, right side of the handlebar. And I actually got this up to about 28 miles an hour, throttle only. And with pedal assist, with the wind on my back, I was up to a little bit over 30 miles an hour, which is crazy fast on a bike. Very nice build, easy to assemble, super comfortable to ride, and it's foldable. This has everything you need for a winning e-bike at this price point. Both Felicia rode it too, and she loves this bike. Highly recommend the Wtva HEBE 1.0. It's a great bike.